Welcome to Coming About with David Paragamian, the podcast that dives deep into the minds of leaders who have transformed their businesses and industries, paving the way for a better future. Here's Dave.
I'm back with Dr. Susan Dorfman, the president and CEO of CMI Media Group. We've been discussing her remarkable journey coming to America as a refugee from Ukraine to leading one of the premier healthcare marketing agencies in the world. Susan, one of the things that I know about your company, and you touched on in part one of our conversation, is about innovation. You said to Stan Woodland, who's the executive chairman and founder of CMI so many years ago when you started, look at the asset that we have that allows us to do way more than just place aggregate media. We really know how to reach specific doctors, and we know how to create a true engagement platform for them. I would believe right then that innovation comes as a thread through your whole culture every day, starting from that moment. Is that right? Tell me more about that.
So it's always about pushing the envelope. It's always about doing things differently and, having a vision for the future. So I myself come from a management consulting background, from former founders of McKinsey that started a management consulting firm. That was kind of a core also of my career journey. And, that allows us to solve for business problems and to always be on the lookout for new ways of doing things. So not the old status quo. I think the second thing about it, the innovation mindset, is not waiting for your clients or your partners to be angel investors in what you're doing, but actually make those investments early, trial and error, and pivot. If I tell you that over a year ago, we actually made a decision to invest in Gen AI for the use of ourselves to pilot, to try to do things differently, for internal operations, but also client forward, client futuristic types of offerings, just because. And that's investing in talent, that's investing in technology. We always create that investment. I have to say that I'm incredibly thankful for our holding company, WPP, our leadership, and Stan Woodland as our chairman, for always making room for those types of investments. Not a lot of agencies, I will say, not just competitors, but agencies who are in market, who have the longevity, are out there making these types of actual investments ahead of time, learning, pivoting, and adjusting as a result. So yes, innovation is a key. It's not for the sake of innovation. It's for the sake of continuing to push forward. It's also having the exploratory vision of what's next. Where's a shiny penny, and where's something that is from a penny will turn into $1, 10, or, $1 million. And we don't always get it right, but that's where the investment, the trial, the being able to see, project in the future makes a world of difference. Yeah.
I love that, you called it the innovation mentality. And I think certainly people that know me well know that one of my hot buttons, the way to, get my skin up a little is when people say, well, but wait, this is the way we've always done it. And I think, that's probably what they said at Eastman Kodak. That's probably what they said at BlackBerry. That's probably what they said at Blockbuster, right? There are a lot of companies that couldn't make a pivot, as great companies as they were, because they were entrenched with what was in the rearview mirror, as opposed to saying, well, wait, to your point, where are things going to take us in the future? And sometimes you make bets in innovation and test, and they don't all work out, but you learn from all of them. So I love that innovation mentality.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I just look back to something that Joe Woodland, who was my counterpart on the Compass side, and Stan Woodland's son, who's an incredible partner for me. I look at something that we built probably 13 years ago, and pulling it in now and looking at it with a set of eyes that I had now, I'm like, oh my God, that was so innovative. I can't believe we thought of that. Sometimes you can even be too early in your innovation. So sometimes even having that ability to go back to the past, see what you did, and be able to say, hey, maybe now is the right time for that as well, is a great part of that innovation mindset, of that, I would say challenger mindset more than even than innovation mindset. Because if you're always in that challenger mindset, if you're always thinking ahead, if you're always thinking about how to, I know that there's a saying that better is the enemy of good. I will say that better is our most important challenger in life. Good is great, but we can and should always strive to evolve.
It's interesting to hear someone who's in a company that is truly a number one market leader talk about the challenger mindset. But it actually makes, even though that sounds like an oxymoron, why would somebody who's the number one market share person be challenger mindset? But it's probably what makes them great, right? I mean, I think in any, whether you're a leader of an orchestra or you're Tom Brady and you're a football quarterback or you're the CEO of a company that's a market leader, the desire to say, I need to stay at the top of my game and keep pushing myself is probably what keeps people as market leaders, right?
Yeah. And as an only child, I can only be better than myself. I can't be better than anybody else. So, and I know Stan is also an only child, so we joke around about that. It's not always being better than someone else. And I'm a terrible golf player. I am absolutely the worst. I probably ruin everyone's game when they play with me. But every time I play, I'm always in my head and I'm competing against myself and what I did in my, the last time I played. I'm not necessarily competing with those that I play against. And that's kind of a mentality that I have here that I want to bring forward to our entire agency. Is there's also another good saying is number one never competes with number two. But you should always be, in order to stay number one, you should always challenge yourself to what that number one means and what it means to be better. There are tons of incredible good companies, tons of incredibly bright people out there who we should never take for granted the fact that we're number one. We should never take for granted our clients and their trust and, how they perceive us. We always need to strive to be better, to do better work for them, to leverage more efficient and effective ways of doing things for them. If we just stay in the status quo, at some point, we will not be worth the value that they entrust us to bring to them. So I think that's a really important part of who I am. And I think that, that's not for everybody. Change, which is more, I would say it's constant. It's continuous evolution. It's never, hey, we've done this and now let's stop. It's, let's continue to push the envelope. We, as part of our agency, we follow an agile methodology to development, methodology to deliverables, methodology even to the way that we staff and train our people. In what we do, it's a constant evolution. It's, learn, bring to market, learn, adjust, bring to market, continue to evolve, continue to be better.
In that spirit of competing only against yourself and always wanting to drive yourself to be better, I'd be remiss if I didn't allow us to talk a moment about along your journey, you went back to school and picked up a doctorate. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Coming from my Eastern European background, my mother has her, I think it was an equivalent to a PhD. So, come from a very highly educated family. And I think for my family, it was really always important for Susan to become a doctor. Now, while I wasn't smart enough to become a medical doctor like my son, I had always wanted to get a PhD, a higher level degree. When I was much younger, I was actually getting my PhD in theater. And I realized I really have no talent. That's just not who I am. So I put it on hold to have my son, to bring him into the world and also give him a stable family background, home background. So at some point, I made the decision to get a PhD. At that time, it was no longer theater. It was health and health administration, because that's where my passion was. And yeah, I chose to do that, and incredibly thankful that I had the opportunity to get that degree.
And I'm sure not an easy thing as a professional. You have a spouse, you have a child, you have a job, you have all, other family and other responsibilities, but certainly something that you're glad you did and adds value. And so I think, again, for the listener, that whole idea of not being afraid to try new things. And you started down a path that was, I'm going to get a PhD in theater, and wound up with one in health and health administration. Couldn't be two different things. And you weren't afraid to say, hey, I'm on the wrong path. I got to get on a different path.
Yeah, and also not afraid to say, I have no talent here. This is never going to happen for me. Being able to see that and recognize that, and then choosing, alternative ways. I will also say that, getting a higher degree makes you incredibly humble. You probably see a lot in the news right now, making sure that people are sourcing information, quoting, giving credit for alternative sources, especially with your PhD. You have no credibility. So you have to cite every source. It's not about what you think. It's about kind of bringing conclusions based on other research and other work. Incredibly challenging. I will say that I had lots of meltdowns like, oh my God, I can't do this. But in every one of these meltdowns, getting yourself off the ground and being able to say, yes, you can, and you will. And it's not that bad. And putting things in perspective and compartmentalizing. There's a strength in that you don't know that you have until you go through it. And, certainly having strong friendships, family support, and just, kind of your own balancing board to be able to say, it'll be okay. You'll be okay. Is a humbling and important experience.
I certainly oftentimes invoke the whole idea that resilience and grit is a big factor in determining what really is success. Not necessarily financial success, title on your resume success, but just success in propelling yourself forward in life. There's that getting yourself up when you've been knocked down, dusting yourself off, learning the lesson and moving forward.
The grit it's such a key. And again, I'm so thankful for my family and their immigration journey, and everything that they had shown me, because I don't know that I would find the strength within myself if I hadn't seen it in them. And I know my son always tells me, like, no matter what challenge I have, sometimes, when he was younger, he would have, probably still does, these breakdown challenges, like, I can't do this. And I would be like, yeah, you can. Let's just figure out how. Let's figure out the path. So I don't think I ever let him off the hook easily. I'm incredibly proud of the young man that he is today as a result of that, and just how he himself goes through his own professional and personal journey.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Well, as we get close to the timeline here on the end of our podcast, I wanted to make sure I gave you an opportunity to talk a little bit about any predictions, insight, trends, whatever word you want to hang on it. I don't want to ask you to set yourself up too much on a prediction necessarily, but any trends or insights that you see for us in the healthcare advertising and communications business as we roll into this new year?
As a matter of fact, I just worked on a futuristic paper that looks at some of these things, and actually even started to do that more recently as a result of COVID. I think from a healthcare marketing perspective, I know everybody's talking about the idea of artificial intelligence, Gen AI in particular. I will say that from a marketing perspective, it's not about the tool, but what we do with the tool, and then how we leverage it from a communication perspective, a speed to market perspective, a content perspective, and certainly a decision tool. So for me, it's going from the word artificial intelligence more to automated intelligence, and thinking about how do we leverage all of the data, the insights, the technologies, and the brains that we have across our organizations to bring information to our patients, our healthcare professionals in a quicker and more meaningful way. Another prediction that I have is that automation, especially in healthcare, is not enough to service the patient in the most meaningful way. There's a human touch component that is incredibly important. Health is not synonymous to going to the supermarket and buying a box of cereal, or even getting a new car or a new dress or new shoes or a new shirt. It is about getting back to the way that we were. And if you yourself have experienced health challenges or live with someone who has experienced health challenges, you'll know the importance of the human touch. So I think as we personally think as marketers, as advertisers, as we think of ways to better the lives of people, I think we need to think of it not just from a technology perspective, but also how do we bring the human touch when they need it most. A few other predictions, we will move from the concept of omnichannel. It seems like everybody's on the omnichannel bandwagon in addition to the use of AI, to more of an omnipresence. If you're really going to put people in the center, your customers in the center of everything that you do, you will think about their journey and make sure that they have a meaningful surround, not the same surround everywhere they go. But they choose their channels of communication from human to digital to traditional, whatever those choices are. As a matter of fact, we are omnipresent in the way that we consume information and just by means of who we are. We need to make sure that we are allowing people to get access to what they need and how they need it, whether it's push, whether it's pull, through the right channels based on their expectation of those channels. It's not about the same. It is about meaningful. So those are probably the three critical ones. I will say that we should also watch for trends of younger people getting sicker earlier in their journeys and in their life. So I feel like what we do is going to be much more important for a greater number of people. So we just need to be thoughtful about people, not just by who they are, but also, there are some vast generational differences, gender differences. There are just so many differences that we have as individuals. So having that multidimensional view of our customers and being there for them is going to be heightened.
Totally aligned to all three of your comments. And that third one about thinking about omni-channel more as omnipresent. I love that. I may borrow that. I will appropriately cite to the comment made earlier about attribution of quotes, but I will cite to Susan Dorfman the omnipresent, because I do love that reflects the fact that everyone is on a unique journey, and what works from a communication to a certain person who's living in an urban environment in Boston is different than what for someone living in rural West Virginia. And their experiences, even though they have the same disease state diagnosis, what they need and when they need and how they need it has to be more personalized. So I could talk about this all day, but I think you hit on three really smart ones. And before we go, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your journey, which is such a remarkable journey, your wisdom and your insights, and the things you shared about CMI, because I do think it's a special company. And I love the fact that although you're number one, you bring that challenger mindset and that innovation mentality. Any last word you want to share with our listener?
I'm just incredibly thankful and humbled by your kind words. It means a lot to hear that from you. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I will tell you one last thing just between us. Actually, you do have talent in the theater and in acting, because I've seen you in the front of a very large room with a lot of people, and you make a very compelling presentation. So you may not be on the next episode of Law and Order or whatever it is, but I think you still have gifts for theater.
Well, thank God for that. So all of the years, at least of my educational background, didn't go to complete waste. But if you ever spent time with the talent that I had a chance to spend time with, you would totally say, yeah, Susan, you really need to shift to another profession because they were incredibly talented people.
The pivots on your journey have brought you to a great place, and I enjoy seeing what's next. And Thank you for sharing some time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that wraps up another episode of Coming About. If you like the show, please take a moment to subscribe so you get notified of future episodes and catch up on the ones you missed. And please feel free to share and tell your friends. Thank you so much.
This has been Coming About. We hope these conversations have left you feeling empowered and ready to take your organization to the next level. To speak with Dave about your business transformation or to learn more about Health Monitor Network, go to healthmonitornetwork.com. And don't forget to check out his book, Coming About: How We Transformed a Major Media Company and the Lessons There for You. Available wherever books are sold. Coming About with David Paragamian is a production of Advantage Audio.
You bring in good people, and when you enable that cultural add, so you don't have the same perspective, but you have many different perspectives, different points of view, you are accepting. We often say that we are family, and I think if you talk to people within our agency, you'll find that to be really true. We treat each other as family. We are different, and yet we are all contributing to the same thing and have a common thread of, I hope, just being good people.
I love that. And I want to get more into the culture aspect that you've built so well at CMI. But we have to take a quick pause here. Next time on Coming About, Susan Dorfman, the president and CEO of CMI Media, will share why she embraces a challenger mindset for a business that's number one in its industry.
If you're always in that challenger mindset, if you're always thinking ahead, if you're always thinking about how to, I know that there's a saying that better is the enemy of good. I will say that better is our most important challenger in life. Good is great, but we can and should always strive to evolve.
This has been Coming About. We hope these conversations have left you feeling empowered and ready to take your organization to the next level. To speak with Dave about your business transformation or to learn more about Health Monitor Network, go to healthmonitornetwork.com. And don't forget to check out his book, Coming About: How We Transformed a Major Media Company and the Lessons There for You. Available wherever books are sold. Coming About with David Paragamian is a production of Advantage Audio.